Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.
Welcome to another episode of Today Africa Podcast, and today's guest is no other person than Elizabeth Solaru. She's the founder of Elizabeth Cake Emporium, one of the most successful cake brand in the world, and she's the author of the latest book, Entrepreneurial: How to Start and Build a Successful Luxury Brand. So, Elizabeth, you are welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you for everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Elizabeth Solaru?
Let me go back a tiny bit. I was born in London, brought up to about the age of 10 in London, and then I was taken back to Nigeria by my parents. And I was educated in Nigeria. I went to University of Lagos. Did my degree in microbiology, and then I went to College of Medicine, and I did my master's in medical microbiology and parasitology. So after my studies, I came back to the UK, and I started working as a biomedical scientist in a hospital, St. Mary's Hospital. And after training, because in those days, you got a job as a trainee, you got trained, and then after completing my training, I went over to Great Ormond Street Hospital to work as a scientist. And I was at Great Ormond Street Hospital for about 7 years. And I remember thinking there's got to be more to life than being in a lab all the time. And I wanted to go into business. And I did what we do in experience. I just went off and did another degree. So I did an MBA and did my MBA. But it was while I was doing the MBA that I realized that the degree will not get me to where I wanted to go. So I had to learn how to network. And that was when I believe my career really started, because it was easy to get a job in the lab. Not easy, because to be honest with you, the way I got the job in the lab was literally by walking into a hospital, and I asked to speak to the head of department of microbiology, and he came out, and I said, look, I just want a job. I don't care what I do. I will clean, I will make a cup of tea. And he said, wait there. And he went inside and he photocopied all the trainee jobs for me. So that was the first bit of, I would say, favor that I got, because those jobs I would have never known about them because they were in a specialist magazine. So after I then thought, okay, I need to leave the lab, I then decided to do an MBA. And I used the same method. I literally asked my business school if I can have a job after doing the MBA, because so many people had turned me down for a few jobs in the city. But I know that I needed a job to bridge the gap. So I asked my business school, and they said, look, we don't have a lot of money, but we can give you a title and we can give you an email. So I took the job. So I would say that again was another bit of favor, because I was able to use my position as head of MBA careers at the business school. I leveraged that. So I used that to get into a lot of spaces. I was just networking. And it was in the course of networking that I met a guy, and he said to me, I'm starting my own company. Would you like to join me as a headhunter? So that's how I got my headhunting job. And once I got that headhunting job, I became very good at it. I learned, I studied, I did what I had to do. I wrote articles for the company website. I also did a lot of job hunting, because in those days, the guy did a lot of job hunting workshops. So I learned from him how to do his workshop. So, and many people don't like public speaking, and I don't like public speaking either. But I thought to myself, I have no money, I have no connections, and I'm Black, so I need to do something that'll make me stand out. So while he was delivering job hunting workshops, I was learning from him how he delivers and what he says and stuff like that. And that was how I learned how to deliver those workshops. So I started my third career as a cake maker. I then called a particular office, and the girl said, "Do you make cupcakes?" I said, "Yes, I make cupcakes." Got the samples, they liked the samples, and that's how I started working with them. She was my first high-end client, and she was lovely. While the other planners were not so nice, she was so nice. And then after the party, after I delivered it to her, she then wrote me a testimonial, and she said I can use that testimonial in my marketing. So of course I took the testimonial and I plastered it everywhere. I used it everywhere. And that was how I got started working with the really rich, the famous, royalty, celebrities. It was a long process, but I got there in the end. So that was how Elizabeth Cake Emporium really, really came to being. But alongside that, you know, when you're working for the ultra high movement, you are only as good as your last job. So you can't take anything for granted. So I did a lot of things, you know. I tried to make sure that, you know, the marketing, the images in particular, the images of my cakes, I tried to make sure they were good. And then alongside that, I didn't want to be the face of the company, and that was down to me, because sometimes as a Black person in the UK, you are worried if they see a Black face, will they buy from me? So you're sometimes worried. But I kind of, after several years of making the cake, people got to know me anyway, so it didn't really matter. And also, when you're dealing with a certain level of clients, if they like you, they like you. If they don't like you, they don't like you. And it has nothing to do with whether you're Black or white or whatever. So, like I said, there was a lot of learning along the way. And then I was doing the cakes, everything was fine. And then COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, I was asked to speak on so many forums. And I started talking about luxury business. I started talking about how, you know, things people need to be aware of, the different types of luxury clients, etc. And I was really surprised that many people didn't know what I knew. So because I was talking about it so much, I decided why not investigate a bit further. And that was how the idea of the book came to be.
When you started, what were the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Okay, that's a fantastic question, actually. The challenges were many. I overcame some. I failed some I failed, some I overcame. So, but it's true. The first challenge for me was finding high-end clients. So again, you know, after calling everybody and the door is slammed in your face, what do? So I started doing wedding shows. So I remember I would register for a wedding show because there were different levels of wedding show. And some of the wedding shows, they will say you're not known. If you're not a known name, they will not have you on board. So it took a long time to be able to persuade those high-end shows that, because at the end of the day, they are protecting their brand. They want to make sure that the cake they bring in will be up to scratch. So luckily for me, I was able to do one particular show, and I was put in a corner with another lady. She was also Black. They put us in a corner. And this is where fate, honestly, I'm telling you, faith, God has a way of elevating. So they put me and her in a corner. Now, this show had invited a TV camera to come and film. And the TV, but not us. They didn't come to film us. So the TV crew, they came to film somebody else. And the person they filmed, her stand looked immaculate. But the producer wasn't happy. The producer wasn't happy. So the producer started looking around for other stands to film. And then he decided to film my neighbor, my friend.
Yeah.
And in the process of filming my friend, he noticed my cakes. But after he filmed my friend, he left. He actually left. So because they had left, I just went to watch a fashion show that was taking place then, a bridal fashion show. And then I heard this lady scream my name, Elizabeth, Elizabeth, they've come for you, they've come for you. So I ran from watching that. I ran back to my stand. And the guy said, look, I just love your cakes. I had to come back and film them. And he filmed the cakes. And he said, by the way, can you tell me a bit about cake trends? So he interviewed me as well as a bonus.
Okay.
And that was my first ever being on a TV show. And I remember when the show was being played on Sky TV, I was getting so many texts, so many calls saying, oh my God, Elizabeth, you're on TV, you're on TV. Now, again, the story didn't end there. What also happened was that this same guy had an idea for a cake show. And he said, oh, Elizabeth, I have an idea for a cake show. So I wrote in a list of all my cake heroes, all the people I felt were top cake makers in the UK. And I sent him the list. And he said, Elizabeth, I want you to be a part of the show. And I said, but I'm not. Wow. I said, I'm not an expert, because I didn't want to disgrace myself. I remember talking to my sister about it. And my sister, don't go and disgrace yourself. Are you sure? Are you sure you're up to scratch? I'm like, I will see. So he insisted. He said he wanted a mixed ability group, and he wanted me to be a part of the show. So I participated on the show. And on the morning of the show, driving with a driver, and the driver was, well, even if you only win 1 out of 3, that will be something. And we prayed. We both prayed that I will win 1. When the driver came back, he said that from the very gate, people were telling him, I won 3 out of 3. I won all the challenges. So, wow. So that became my claim to fame, because I was an unknown. It was literally, nobody knew me. And all of a sudden, I was this cake maker that beat everybody else on this TV show. So, but that brought, I really will ask the question of how did I overcome the challenge? That brought another challenge in itself, because yes, I had this so-called fame, but in the clients that I needed to get. So yes, I had the fame, but so for me, so I had to focus on getting the clients. So what did I do to get the clients? I remember talking with the driver, because in the UK then we had mini cabs, and this guy was the mini cab driver that I use all the time. And we were chatting, and I was like, look, I need to find clients. And he said, look, my office, they do something called leafletting. So leafletting means that they would put leaflets in the letterboxes of as many houses as possible. And I said to him, oh, do you leaflet really, really expensive areas, really posh areas? And he said, yes. I said, excellent. That became my marketing strategy. So I would give him, and I said to him, how much would you charge? He said, bring £10. And I said, and £10 was affordable then. So I gave him £10, and he would take the leaflets. And I said, only areas with really nice postcodes. And I will know when he leaflets, because that afternoon I will get at least 3 inquiries. And from those 3 inquiries, at least 2 people will order a cake. And they'll just say, we saw your leaflet, we've been on your website, we love your cakes, can you do a birthday? And that was how I started building up my client list. And then also, I remember in the events industry, a lot of people were doing style shoots, especially wedding planners. So they'll do a shoot to try and, do a mock-up wedding, a fake wedding. And some of us will be begging, for the opportunity to do that. And eventually, one or two people accepted to work with me. And then I started working my way up. If this person works with you, then another person. And then one day, I remember thinking, I can do this. I can do a shoot that I want rather than have to rely, because sometimes you do these shoots, you don't even get images back, or they don't credit you, or they don't mention your name. Those were massive challenges. And then I decided to start doing my own. And I remember I went to another friend of mine and I said, you know what, as African people, why don't we do an African inspired wedding shoot? This was many, many years ago, way before Afrobeat became a thing. And we did the shoot. I don't know how we did it, but we did the shoot. She brought so many things, so many props. We found a photographer, we did the shoot, and we got the images back. And the problem was who was going to blog those images, because bloggers then, they were powerful. These women they ruled the events industry. So it was like, okay, so how can we persuade a blogger? Only one blogger agreed to blog it. And this blogger, she charged, but at least she agreed to blog it. So I got my first breakthrough via this blogger. And then another blogger in America, very big, big blogger, we sent her the images, and then she arranged, this is why curation is so important. The way she organized the images, she created a theme around the images, and we were like, wow, is this our work? And this big American blogger, black blogger, she blogged it, and it was a massive hit. And then another white blogger came back. I'd already approached her, by the way. She said no. She then came back and she said, apologies, Elizabeth. I know I said no, but I saw those images. Can I have them? I was just so happy. I said, yes, of course. So she blogged them. Then another person said, okay, you know what? Because this white girl had blogged them, she also being a white lady, she also followed, because it was like a domino effect. And this is why I say to people, when you're starting out, I have a soft spot for people starting out. Even if it's not perfect, even if there are ups and downs, just persevere, because you never know. So that was how, from that one shoot, we started organizing more shoots. We started doing things for ourselves, if that makes sense. Because one thing I then look back now, one thing I learned is that as you're building your, your professional brand or your business brand, you can also build your personal brand alongside it. At one point, they will converge, but at some point they will diverge again. So for me, being able to build that personal brand and being known for doing nice shoots to the point where some photographers will come to me and say, oh, are you doing any other shoots? I want to work with you. All because I took the initiative, And I remember when we did our first shoot, a lot of people made fun of us. They literally, and I remember Bella Niger blogged that shoot. They also blogged it, because what had happened was that Auntie Betty Rabo, we call her Auntie Betty, by the way, Auntie Betty Rabo, I don't know if you know of her. Auntie Betty Rabo, she also put the shoot, I think she put the shoot in her magazine or something, because people reached out to really help, because nobody had done an African inspired shoot before. So Bella Niger also blogged it, and the comment section of Bella Niger was fire, because people were People were making fun. They said what they needed to do, but I'm like, you know what? I don't care. The most important thing is that we've done it, and it's inspiring conversation, and we learn from our mistakes as well. So that was how I started overcoming some of the challenges of not getting enough clients.
You work with high-profile clients all over the world. What has been your strategy managing expectation and delivering luxury experiences to these clients?
Okay, that's a fantastic question, because you have to tailor what you deliver to the client. You cannot do, this is business as usual. So, and there's something about client psychology that I love, because I used to interview high-profile chief executives for a living. I kind of had to study them and understand, because when you're interviewing a high-profile chief executive, they're very clever. They got to where they got to by being good with words, by being good with people. So sometimes they can play you if you're not careful. You shouldn't be too carried away. So at the end of the day, clients they're like that as well. So some clients are straightforward, straight to business. Some clients I never ever meet. I never ever meet them. I'm there to just deliver what I need to deliver. But what I try to do is that I try to gather as much information as possible. So for some of them, I speak extensively with the staff, with the gatekeepers, because the gatekeepers are very, very powerful, extremely powerful. Yeah. So you speak with, it could be the PA, it could even be the gate man, it could be the security guard, it could be their bodyguard, it could be the family office. So you need to speak with as many people as possible and know their likes, dislikes, know what they like to see, what they don't like to see. If an event planner has engaged you, you need to listen very carefully to the planner, to what they're telling you, what they're not telling you, and you need to help the planner as well, because not all planners are good planners. Some planners are fantastic at creative. No, it's true. Some planners are fantastic at the creative side, but the admin side is very bad, really bad. So you have to be the one running around and doing certain things for them, and even giving them a checklist and helping them, but you have to do it in such a way that they think they're running the show. So there's a lot you need that goes behind delivering those experiences. And there are times where the client, sometimes you have to think for them and you have to curate for them, because many people make the mistake of thinking the more things you show a client, the better. No, I curate. I have over 50 different cake flavors that I offer, but there are times I only show the client maybe 4 or 5, or maybe even 3, because I have already spoken, because by the time I speak with everybody around them, I know they hate this, they hate that, they love this, they love that. And some clients, if they say, oh, this client, they love surprises, I would say, by the way, I've created your favorite childhood flavor, which is bubble gum. I've created it as a cake. And they're like, wow. So some people like surprises, some don't like surprises. I've already spoken to their private chef. So there's a lot that goes into it. So that is how you deliver experiences. I talk a bit about it in my book as well, The Luxpreneur, because again, I don't believe in gatekeeping information. So I talk about some of the things you need to have in place before you even start thinking about serving the high net worth clients. Because people think that, oh, it's just a matter of looking for people that have money. But you need to look at it from your perspective. Imagine that the only thing that people want from you is your money. The only reason why people are smiling at you, why they like you, is your money. Imagine how that will make you feel, a person, right? And also, people have a sense of entitlement to your money. So you need to think of things from that perspective as well. And you need to make sure that your part in their life is that you're making their life as easy as possible. And you do your job and you leave. You know, if they want to be friends with you, fine. But before you deliver your job, don't be friends with them. That's my advice. You can be friendly. You can be friendly, but they're not your friends until you deliver that job and they are happy. Then you can be friends.
Let's assume that entering the luxury industry as a newbie, what are the things should I look out for while trying to build my brand?
That is a phenomenal question. It's really fantastic, and I'll tell you why. Because it goes to the very heart of the reason I wrote my book. Because many people that serve luxury clients did not grow up in luxury, right? And yet we are producing products that serve luxury clients. So if you go even what's your favorite brand? So just tell me a brand that you know, a well-known brand that you know.
Netflix.
Okay, Netflix as a brand. Okay, that's a TV show brand. Is it luxury? Yeah. Semi-luxury maybe, but it's not really luxury. But the people that created Netflix, right? And this is a true story. They took this Netflix, they took it to Blockbusters, and Blockbuster said it will never work. It can never work because they don't know the industry, right? Yeah. When you look at all the big brands that people know, brands like Gucci, like Chanel, that are big brands now, they started like you and I. The people that started the brands were not from luxury. Coco Chanel was an orphan and she grew up in an orphanage. Gucci was a porter at the Savoy in London. Louis Vuitton, that many people talk about, Louis Vuitton, that, oh my God, Louis bag or whatever, he walked barefoot to Paris. He was that poor. So my point is that a lot of these luxury brands that we know today, they started from people like you and I. So, but the big brand, the big name brands, the way they operate luxury, once you become big, the way you operate luxury is completely different. So I wrote the book from a founder's perspective. If you were to start today with no money, with 40 pounds and a secondhand mixer, which I started with. So what I then did was that I looked at all the books out there because I love books, as you can see from I love books. Yeah. But in going through all the books, a lot of them were written by professors of luxury or people who had run big luxury brands. Not many had written a practical book. Me, because I do things like leafleting and I like practical stuff because that's what grows your business. So I thought that for my book, it will be founded on 3 things. So my book is in 3 parts, and every part you can read as standalone. So you don't have to read every other thing before you read that whatever part you want to read. So the first part is all about you as a person, your mindset. So for example, when I did my own characterization, my own archetype, I came out as a combination of 2 things, an artisan and a visionary. As an artisan, all I want to do is create my cakes, which is bad for business because that means I'm not thinking about pricing. I'm not thinking about cost of ingredients. And I need somebody to say, Elizabeth, enough. Don't spend any more money on ingredients. This is our margins. I need somebody like that. So I had to look at my own strengths and weaknesses. So part 1 does that. So you as a person, before you even enter into the luxury business, this is who you are. This is what you need to watch out for. And this is what you need to do to mitigate. Then the second part, I talk about 5 things you need to be aware of if you want to set up a luxury brand. And I tell you the 5 things, I tell you what they are. And I also break down how to go about it. So one of them, for example, is storytelling. Can you tell a compelling story about your brand, about your product, about your person? I even give you the step-by-step of how to do it in the book. I also give you a step-by-step of getting the right images, because at the end of the day, when we look at adverts, we're dreaming. What is it about certain images that you see the image and you go, oh my God, I wish I could buy that dress, or I wish I could buy that handbag. So I then talk about what you need to do to make sure that those things are present in your brand. So they're my 5. I even talk about the different types of luxury brands so that you know the difference between this brand A and brand B. Is one premium? Is one high end? All the differences, I break it down, I tell you. So for people that don't even know anything about the luxury world, it's in the book. Then the last part, which is the part that many people like, is the clients. I tell you about the different types of luxury clients, how you can find them, where they are, and why they buy, so that you can have those strategies in place so you can sell to them. Because there's no point in trying to sell. There's no point in trying to sell something to somebody a certain way if it's not resonating. Because the whole point of luxury is that luxury resonates. There's a reason you like certain brands. So what is it about the brand so how can you then make your own brand for a particular type client? How can you make that brand resonate? So again, everything is in the book. Even if you're not in the luxury space, even if you're just a business person, out of curiosity, because a lot of people are like, why is my, and I, us Nigerians, why is my market not moving today? Why are people not buying from me today? And yet they're buying from my neighbor. And yet maybe your neighbor, three stores down, everybody's rushing your neighbor. And your neighbor may even be more expensive than you. Meanwhile, you are not selling. So this book gives you ideas as to what you could do better for certain clients. Because for me, a luxury brand, it starts with a client, the type of client, because different luxury brands attract different clients. And the one thing luxury brands have done very cleverly and in an amazing way, they know how to get clients at every level. So at the basic level, you have, at least if you can't afford one thing, you can afford another. So to give you an example, at the basic level, you have your perfumes, right? The lipsticks, the beauty, that's basic. So if I save up for maybe a week or a month, I can afford nice perfume, right? Then you have the next level, which is the shoes, the handbags. And some people will even tell you have to put your name on a waiting list for 2 years before you can even buy the handbag. So the next level up, I have to save up maybe for a year, maybe 2 years before I can afford such a handbag or pair of shoes. And then you have the next level up, which is couture. So for that one, as I say to people, maybe I have to sell a kidney. Maybe I have to sell some of my village people. Who knows? Who knows what I have to do to be able to afford couture. But my point is that every brand, especially the big brands, they have that strategy in place. And they make the most money. They tend to make the most money from the lipsticks, the perfumes, and the beauty brand and the beauty products, because that is more volume. Whereas we know that as we go up the chain, the volume is less. So even for that alone, knowing luxury brands work, I think it's worth reading the book, just so you know. So, this is how it works, blah, blah, blah. Because to many people, there's no clarity, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know, but the moment somebody breaks it down and is able to tell you this is how it works and this is how it operates, at least from my perspective as a founder, then you're able to understand it better.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.